B2B service-based business owner, and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact, and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. So welcome back. I'm going to just tell you right now, websites are not optional in your business. A lot of people think, can I, should I, would I, don't know. I'm going to tell you, as a business, you need a hub from which to be your ecosystem. And so today I'm really excited. We're going to be sitting down with an expert about your websites. In particular, is your website, because they are not optional, helping or hurting your business? And we're going to help you digest and get this on track so that it can be truly the engine of your business. So welcome to our show today. I want to introduce you to my friend here, Jeffro. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here and joining us.
Thanks so much to have me. Thanks for having me, Christine. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So you and I met in a creatives community because we were talking about your mission. You have this major mission that I was totally like, oh God, yes, I need to amplify that. What is your big mission that's going to be the thing we're going to talk about today?
Well, I want to rid the world of terrible websites. There's so many just bad websites out there that cause frustration. They waste our time, and it's really unnecessary. These are fixable problems, and it's 2023, so we shouldn't have this issue anymore.
We absolutely should not have this issue. So I love this mission. And so we're going to take you through what is, first off, a terrible website as you see it from the world of design.
Well, I mean, there's a few things that make a website terrible. So load time is one, right? If you have to sit there and wait for it to come up, that's bad. People aren't that patient. They're going to move on to the next thing. So that's one thing. Another thing is if the website's too cluttered, people don't know where to go or what to click on. It's just kind of overwhelming. And just even subconsciously, you just don't want to deal with it, right? So you go look at somebody else. But at the same time, you have to remember that your website is your first impression in digital format, right? You don't have a physical storefront a lot of times now. It's just your website. And so people judge you based on that. And if they think it looks shady or outdated, they're just going to assume that that's what your business is. They shouldn't trust you. Maybe you're a fly-by-night organization, or I don't know, I'll keep looking, right? So those are some of the factors, and we can obviously dive into more, but
we will. I have to tell you a funny story. So when I built my very first website, this is a hallmark in my career. I'm going to date myself entirely by this story. We didn't know how to build a website. There weren't a lot of experts in the industry. And so we built 1,000 pages that we launched with. I mean, crazy, but we built 1,000 pages that we launched with. We built it with Post-it notes on a wall because we didn't know how else to structure this. But we made the colossal mistake is we took somebody who came from the design world, particularly media and magazine, and made this very beautiful website, 1,000 pages of them. And it took forever to load. And it was within 1 week that we were like, this is going to kill our business. We are in a complete redesign. Very expensive mistake.
That's intense.
It was. At the time, I wish I'd known who 3M was and that I should phone them, because I was absolutely a 3M commercial waiting to happen, because we did build it with Post-it notes and they were 3M. So this episode is not sponsored by 3M, by the way. Okay. Let me ask you though, because yes, I think those are really important things that you should be auditing about your site. Is it slow and is it cluttered? And what is the user experience like? Because guys, remember, you're not designing this for yourself. You're designing this to get in front of your potential buyers. So from your point of view, what are the advantages of going with a professionally designed site versus either the free templates or something that is, very formulaic that you can get cheap and cheerful?
Well, I love this question because there's so many things I can talk about, and stop me if you want to go deeper on one of them. Uh, there's a few things. So a free template obviously kind of starts to look generic. I've definitely run into websites that I'm like, oh, I've seen that before. Oh, I've seen that stock photo before, right? Just because it was in the template and people used it. And so that doesn't reflect well on your business. If you want to be unique and stand out, you've got to put some effort in, right? But the design is only one aspect of it. If you want your website to be a business asset that generates revenue for you or converts prospects into buyers, then you have to get the messaging right. You've got to get
Mhm.
the look and feel right so that it presents your brand well. Otherwise, you're hurting the perception of your brand. And with a professional, there should be several stages that you go through in order to make an effective website. So for
Mhm.
us, what we do is we actually start with the copy. We go through a lot of questions with the client, ask them questions about who their target customer is, the services they provide, what they're trying to do. And that way we can understand who we're talking to. And then we can
Mhm.
create headlines that actually resonate with those people. Because the goal of your first headline is to get them to read the next line. The goal of the subheadline is get them to read the first paragraph. We got to get them down the page, right? And if you're doing something generic and talking about yourself, like we fix plumbing leaks or something, everybody fixes plumbing leaks. Why are you different? Why should I go with you over that guy? So if there's something you can talk to that they're experiencing right now, that pain point, tap into it. Okay, I'm going to click with it much quicker if you tell me, we'll be at your house in an hour, guaranteed, or something like that. Okay, now you're talking. Now I'm listening, right?
Yeah,
And so
I think that's
is number one.
awesome. Yeah.
Then we go to design. We don't start with the design because when you are doing your own website or a template and you go through all the things like, oh, this one's pretty, this one's cool. What ends up happening is when you get to the messaging, you're forcing it. You're shoehorning, you're taking something that you maybe should have expanded and you're saying, oh, there's only room for one line in this template. So I'm going to cut out all this important stuff. Right. And you kind of end up shooting yourself in the foot. But if you do the messaging first and build the design around it, now it's supporting the messaging and it's not distracting from it. And obviously, the design needs to be clean and professional. Uh, but that's why we do the design second. And then there's the technical side, right? You want to make sure the website loads quickly, looks good on all the screen devices, and then any integrations. A professional can help you integrate your website with a CRM or any other tools that you're using to improve uh, your workflow when you're bringing in clients or anything like that. Whereas a template one, you're going to do it yourself. You're going to be stuck with a few boxes that you were given, and you're very limited in that sense.
You absolutely are. And I love how elegantly simple this is because, that's really what I'm all about. It's you need to think about the strategy because we've started the episode today. Having a website isn't optional. It has to be more than pretty. The goal is to create movement. And I love that simple line you said. The goal of the headline is to keep people reading to the next headline. And if you do sound like everybody else, if your graphics are the same time they've seen that stock photo, I'm starting to think you're not in this and you don't deserve my business. And that's a really dangerous place because you never get the
Mhm.
conversation. They just go to the next site. And so people are judging, right? And I think they're judging all of that first impression. And one of the biggest changes, I think, in the last 5 years in the world of business, particularly for service based businesses, is that your ecosystem is not your social media channel. It should not be your social media channels. It should be your website. Talk to us a little bit about that because you talk about the evolution and this need to think and the need to get really clear and to build a strategy. But how are people judging you and how can you sort of stay ahead of that? Because websites shouldn't be built and then left alone forever.
Agreed. Websites are never done. I mean, and there's a lot here. So, as you mentioned before, your website is the hub of all your marketing efforts. Everything points back to it. You put it on your social channels, you put it on your email signature, your business cards, everything goes there. So, why wouldn't you want to spend time making it good to serve that customer well and get them to the next step? If you're relying just on a social media platform, for example, you're going to be limited by the features they choose to provide. You are at risk of not owning your own audience because they could change the rules and suddenly you get blocked or banned, right?
Every day,
Maybe they
my friend,
decide
every day.
it happens, right? And so you need to drive people from that social media platform back to your website where you can then capture their email, bring them into your ecosystem so that if something happens with social media or it fades away, I mean, we can list old dead social media platforms, right? Google
Mhm.
Plus, Vine, these things
MySpace.
come and go a lot faster than we think about. So you can't just live there. A social media presence is meant to complement but not replace your professional website and that hub where you want to drive all the traffic. So yeah,
You know,
let's start there.
yeah, and I think this is an important part. This is an evolution. And I would encourage every business owner listening to this episode to go back and look at your website with fresh eyes, because every day your goal is to have fresh eyes come visit it. It's not enough to, I said, launch it and then go, well, now what? Because trust me, I was there after we built that 1,000-page website. That was my next question to our CEO. And I found myself with a brand new job, which was learning about search engine optimization from the founders of Google. And I was like, I know nothing about this. And let's talk about that comment. I know nothing about this, because when we start to go thinking strategy, we start to think about maintenance, we start to think about how do I do this? You're a professional. And I'm going to say, why would we hire a professional versus try to do the slow lane, which is figure all this stuff out before? What do you tell clients that said, can't I just do this myself?
Well, the answer is, of course, you can do it yourself. It just won't be as good, and you're going to spend a lot more time on it. You'll be more stressed, and it's ultimately going to be a waste of time and missed opportunities. It's
Yes.
like anything, right? With any professional, they make it look easy because they've spent a lot of time doing it.
Mhm.
And if you look at a boxer or uh, a professional football player or somebody, like, oh wow, that looks really easy. I bet I could do that. Then you get out there and you're like, okay, maybe this is harder than I thought. I think, excuse me, part of the challenge with website stuff is it feels more accessible because I can pull it up in my browser, right? I can log into WordPress, I can install a plugin, whatever. It doesn't seem that hard, but you don't know what you don't know. And it's easy then to kind of get stuck in that. Um, excuse me, I'm having trouble with my throat today.
No
But
problem.
with website, there's so many layers to it, right? So there's the technical side, making it load fast. There's the design side, right, which is really marketing. If you don't have a marketing background, you don't know when you're doing something dumb. And same thing with the messaging, right? You might pick something that sounds cool, like, oh, I'm going to be your 3D printing concierge. Nobody's typing that into Google. They're never going to find you, right? So that's
Yes.
great. But if
Stay
you're
for the back
relying
row,
on that,
please. Please.
so yeah, you can't just pick things that you think are cool. You've got to know the industry. You got to know how stuff works in order to make an effective website.
I'm a big advocate for this, and I know that there's a time and place and your business can evolve. Like my first website was a template, and I'm in the process of evolving that. And part of
Hmm.
it comes down to it's not that you can't, is that should you spend your time on this? Because I will tell you, in every mastermind that I'm part of, every community of peers of B2B service-based businesses, everybody says at some point, I need to update my website. But it is so low on the priority that it doesn't get done. And if it doesn't get done and your first impression gets either out of sync or starts to look old school, and not kitschy old school, I mean just old, then you are
Hmm.
losing potential buyers. And that isn't something you can afford to do. So let's talk about the expectations. Business owners give the web world an unfair expectation that if you build me this amazing website, my business will now have massive sales. And is it the web designer's business to bring traffic? Let's talk about that elephant, because I think some people are going to need to hear this.
Sure. So there's, if only, right? Just build it and they will come. Make this shiny new website and you suddenly get all this business. But there are more layers to the problem, right? So a good website helps with the conversion problem. So when somebody gets there, then the website will help get them to the next step, which is to sign up for your email newsletter, request a quote, send you an email, whatever it is. But that doesn't get people there. It doesn't matter how good it is if nobody ever sees it. So
Mhm.
website is one problem. Fix that. But then also, that's when you turn to marketing or sales, right? And start doing campaigns, whether that's search engine optimization or paid ads or handing out flyers, something like that, that's going to get people to go look at your website. So solve the traffic problem separately and then make sure your website is good to help with conversion.
I think it's so glad you started with the conversation with conversion, because truthfully, if you have the audience and you have the right messaging, a bad technical website will still convert. If you have nobody there, a beautiful website does nothing for conversion. And I think sometimes that's why it's really important when you're working and selecting companies that are in the web world, professionals like Jeffro and his team, it is important that you understand, what are they providing for a service? Are they doing the copy, which is one of the expertises that he brings to the table? Are they going to help you with the maintenance, with the technical, with the integrations? A lot of web designers don't, and you're not buying and comparing apples to apples. If you do not have those skill sets, don't get caught out by a really cheap price, because they're going to say, I'm just creating it. And you will be disappointed. And I know so many people get really burned by that. And it comes down to, you do the great website, which is about the story, the connection, the buyer, the journey, and the offer. But you have to think about, what will you do to get the people there first? And so when we talk about that, personally, and you, for your business, what's working right now for you to grow your business? Because you've got obviously a great website. I know I've taken some ideas from some of the things that you've been doing, and I've been watching your marketing engine out there in the marketplace for a couple months now. But what are you doing to bring traffic personally in your business? And what do you find is working right now?
Well, one of the best things that I did for myself, and I would recommend others to do, is to be yourself. It's basic advice, and you've probably heard it, be authentic. But I think so many of us have these ideas in our head of how we're supposed to present ourselves online. Keep our hair, professional haircut, or use these professional terms. And as soon as I, at one point was like, I'm just going to embrace me and my personal brand. I go by Jeffro now. I don't put my whole name. I stand out because I'm different. That's the whole point, right? That's what makes marketing easier. If you sound like everybody else, no one's going to notice you. So what is different about you that you can embrace and hold out in front of everyone else? So this applies to any industry. You can be different as a plumber, as a mental health professional. It doesn't matter. So whatever's different, embrace that, put that into your brand, make that at the front of your marketing efforts, and then everything else just gets a lot easier.
It so does. That's the most important question. It is a simple, simple question. You guys know I'm all about simplicity, but it is hard to answer, which is, what makes you you? And owning that is the starting point of all the success, because it trickles through your copy, the website, how you
Mhm.
show up, your presence. And if you don't own whatever it is that you do, you will not call the people who need to find you. And you get really lost in the sea of sameness. I know so much why we connected was, I'm ridding the world of bad websites. And a big part of it is we start with copy and you all sound the same, and said, that's not good enough. I want to know your lens, the uniqueness you bring to the marketplace. I want you to be the person I intentionally choose, not by accident I defaulted. And don't get too clever. Your audience isn't Googling random weird names you created that you can't spell. I want you to be findable on the websites, and I want you to do a great job converting. Jeffro, how do people find more about your programs and services and connect with you?
Well, you can go to my website, frobro.com, and you can find me on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just search for Frobro Web, and should show up there. But that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay, my final question. In your opinion, what is the best website that you've seen lately? And not, you don't have to name names, but what do you think when you went, wow, I wish I designed that?
That's a hard question. I see a lot of websites. So the ones that make me go, wow, is when it has the right balance of clean and professional, visually interesting, but not distracting, and a clear message right off the bat in the headline. So as soon as I get there, I don't feel overwhelmed or annoyed. And I know who this is for. I know if it's for me or not. And it's just a more pleasant, simple experience, as opposed to me having to figure out, am I in the right place or not? So the ones that have that good balance, I'd say those are the best ones.
Okay, guys, so now you heard it. You only have a few seconds and the very first impression to keep them reading more. You've had some great tips here. Jeffro, thank you for being our guest today. Please connect to him. It's jeffro@frobos.com. This has been Amplify Your Marketing Message. We are here about helping you build an audience of buyers, master your marketing message so that you see more yeses in your business. That is how you create impact. Thanks for being our guest, guys. We will see you all on our next episode. We'll see you then. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.